You were an athlete, maybe just an amateur one, but you were training hard, you were crushing it on weekends, you were doing long outdoor days, or maybe you're racing, and one day you wake up and you know that something is off. There's a level of exhaustion that doesn't feel right. It's like it's in your bones, your muscles, your every cell. And this is not just normal fatigue. Yeah, I'm talking about chronic fatigue and burnout. So I've experienced this myself where I was rock climbing, I was doing like 15-hour days, doing hard climbs where I was shredded, my muscles hurt, I was exhausted, and I ski toured the same amount of time, and I did that every weekend nonstop. And in between, I was cycling to keep my cardio going. And I was exhausted. I was exhausted from doing those things, but I didn't listen. I kept on going. And then at some point, I reached that point where my body just didn't have the resources to recover anymore, and I hit rock bottom. That was the beginning of my burnout, which I thought was adrenal fatigue to start with. But it turned out to be chronic fatigue, because after 2 years of not recovering and then reading through the chronic fatigue symptoms, I was like, fuck, this is what I have too. But I knew at the beginning things weren't right. So do you recognize any of these things? Resting doesn't help. You don't feel rested at all. You try, you actually can't sleep well. Insomnia, maybe there's pain. So I had nerve pain running from down my neck to my fingertips, and it hurt to sleep because my fingers and my hands were hurting so much. So maybe you have some kind of chronic pain, fibromyalgia, and your brain also doesn't function. It's like you forget, you think something and then it's gone. The short-term memory is non-existent basically, and thinking felt really hard. So at least for me, I remember I took on an easy job after I finished my PhD because my brain just, the capacity, like I did astrophysics. This noggin is really smart, but like I couldn't, it hurt to try to hold and navigate complex issues. And yeah, maybe my brain was still more able to manage more things than someone who wasn't as educated, but I knew I wasn't at full capacity. I knew it felt off. And then I also dropped things a lot. So my brain to body coordination was off. And yeah, getting by was like getting through the life tasks was all that I could do. And even walking up a flight of stairs after being so athletic, just walking up the stairs, I needed to hold handrails because it was exhausting to use my muscular strength step by step. And anyways, if you relate with that, then there is a way out. It does take time, but it's nervous system regulation. You have to learn to connect back to your body. You have to slow it down, learn how not to push yourself, including not pushing yourself through recovery, because that's what I did for the first few years. I'm like, I need to heal so that I can get back to my life. But my body didn't like even being pushed healing. So yeah, slowing it down, listening to the body, and titrating. This is a term that Peter Levine, he didn't invent it, but he took it from chemistry, where if you had, let's say, I'm going off on a tangent here, let's say a bucket of acid and you pour in a bucket of basic liquid, then it would explode. But if you pour in drops of base liquid into acid, then it turns into water and it doesn't explode. So that's kind of what you need to do with healing chronic fatigue or any chronic illness or autoimmune disease. There is a lot of trapped survival energy and stress from, how we've lived our lives before, and probably some developmental trauma and in utero trauma, birth trauma, and all that kind of stuff. But it's not about releasing it all at once, because that burns us out as well. It's dipping into it slowly and slowly releasing the activation and letting it discharge, activation and discharge, until you have the capacity to feel more and to go deeper. But yeah, learning how to do that takes time, and it's worth the journey, because you get this life force energy back when you're down the line. So if you're interested in that, send me a comment or a DM. This is my specialty, working with burnout, chronic fatigue, chronic illnesses, and yeah, I do one-on-one somatic trauma therapy.